Welcome back to Now You're Smarter, where we're diving into part 2 of the most iconic toys we just had to have. These weren't just toys, these were status symbols, imagination builders, and the cause of more tantrums than we'd like to admit.
Will somebody get the kid a Happy Meal?
From the Atari 2600 that turned us into gamers, to the pet rock that taught us patience. These toys were everything we wanted growing up. So let's dive back into the nostalgia. Let's start with the console that launched a million gamers. Pong? Basically a masterpiece. Space Invaders? Loved it. In 1977, the Atari 2600 changed the gaming world forever.
Atari!
It was the first home console to bring the arcade straight to your living room. And it became an instant status symbol, with classics like Pac-Man, Pong, Asteroids, and Space Invaders. The Atari 2600 let kids experience the thrill of gaming without leaving the couch or spending all their quarters at the arcade. At $199.99, a hefty $720 in today's money, it wasn't cheap, but that didn't stop it from topping wish lists everywhere. This console sold over 300 million units and paved the way for modern gaming as we know it. Sure, the graphics were simple, but we didn't care. Back then, a few colorful pixels were all it took to blow our minds. The Atari 2600 wasn't just a gaming console, it was the start of a revolution. Who else remembers getting thumb blisters from this one?
Have you played Atari today?
Next up, guess what my favorite toy is? In 1977, Kenner gave us the greatest toy line in the galaxy, Star Wars action figures.
It's Kenner's new Star Wars action figures, each sold separately.
I got you now, Bet Kenobi.
At just 3.75 inches tall, these little guys packed a lot of personality in a small package and came with tiny accessories perfectly designed to immediately get lost in the carpet. With a $2.49 price tag, they were affordable enough that kids could collect the entire set or be bribed to do chores. By 1985, over 300 million figures had been sold, which, judging by the size of my collection, means half of them are still out there somewhere. Listen, I don't have a problem, I have a collection. That's what I tell my wife. And yes, I do know how much they're worth, and no, you can't touch them. Talking Christmas? Let's not forget the infamous early bird certificate in 1977. Kenner didn't have enough time to make figures before Christmas, so they sold a piece of cardboard promising kids toys later. Imagine telling a kid today, "Don't worry, you'll get your action figures in 6 months." Instant tantrum. These weren't just toys, they were a way of life for me and many others. From battling stormtroopers in the backyard to flying the Millennium Falcon across your living room. Star Wars figures fueled endless adventures, and now in my 40s, I love dusting my collection. So who else still has their Star Wars figures? Or are you just here to laugh at me? Either way, may the Force and a good display case be with you.
Now I know the Force is with us.
Darth Vader, R2-D2, C-3PO, and other Kenner Star Wars action figures, each sold separately.
Next toy didn't do anything, but yet it became one of the greatest fads of all time. In 1975, the world went absolutely wild for a rock.
Hey, who'd have thought I'd bought a rock?
Yes, the pet rock was exactly what it sounds like. A smooth stone lovingly packaged in a box with air holes and sold as the ultimate low-maintenance pet.
The latest fad? Pet rocks, which do absolutely nothing.
For $3.95, that's the equivalent of $23.35 today. You got a rock, a box, and a tongue-in-cheek manual teaching you how to care for your new pet. Parents loved it, kids loved it, and the rock probably loved it.
What are you going to do with this rock now?
Well, I'm going to do what the book says, take it home and give it a lot of love.
The pet rock became the gift of 1975, selling over 1.5 million in just 6 months. Talk about rock-solid marketing. And hey, no one complained about their pet rock barking at 3 a.m. The pet rock wasn't just a toy. It was proof that the right gimmick could sell anything. So, did you have one of these obedient pets? Now it's time to sprinkle in a little sweetness. Not only was she adorable, she smelled good. In 1980, Strawberry Shortcake arrived, bringing sweetness to the toy aisle. Literally.
It's fun to comb Strawberry's hair.
It begins to look better.
These adorable dolls didn't just look cute, they smelled amazing.
Strawberry! Raspberry!
It was like having a toy made out of fabuloso. Each doll cost about $12, and by 1983, Strawberry Shortcake was a billion-dollar brand. And she rolled hard with a crew: Blueberry Muffin, Lemon Meringue, and even villains like the peculiar Purple Pie Man. Talk about the delicious drama.
Strawberry Shortcake. She reminds me of a dancer in Vegas named Desire.
These dolls were so popular that parents fought for them at Christmas. And some of those fights got stickier than the frosting Strawberry Shortcake loved. Strawberry Shortcake was a sweet-smelling icon of the 1980s. So which was your favorite fruit-scented friend?
They're so delicious!
Strawberry shortcake and raspberry tart, purple pie mint, and apricot with hot salad. Each sold separately from Kenner.
Next up was a memory test that turned family game night into a full-blown competition. In 1978, Simon burst on the scene and turned everyone into a memory master. Or at least, that was the goal. This electronic game of lights and sounds made you repeat increasingly complex patterns.
To either do what Simon says or else go down the drain.
All while wondering why your brain suddenly forgot how colors work. At $24.95, Simon wasn't cheap, but it became an instant hit, selling over 10 million by 1980. It was also a family game night staple. And because we used up all our intelligence, the reason why many of us can't remember where our keys are now. You always crushed the first few rounds, but the second you got cocky, Simon threw in that extra red flash, and suddenly you were out faster than you could say. Simon wasn't just a game, it was a rite of passage for anyone who thought they had perfect memory. So how far did you ever get?
Simon with 5 ways to play from MB Electronics.
These guys were part robot, part vehicle, and 100% the coolest toy in the universe. Autobots, roll out! In 1984, Transformers rolled onto the scene, bringing us toys that were, say it with me, more than meets the eye.
Autobots, transform!
These shape-shifting robots from Hasbro could turn from vehicles into battle-ready heroes in just a few clicks and twists.
This transformer switches from tape recorder to Decepticon communicator and back again, while the cassette itself becomes a bird.
The Autobots, led by Optimus Prime, fought the evil Decepticons, led by Megatron.
Transform!
Every toy was part puzzle, part action figure, and totally awesome! Plus, the animated series turned these toys into an obsession.
Prepare for battle!
At $10 to $20 a pop, Transformers were a solid investment, if you could just figure out how to transform them without breaking something.
I have no idea what I'm doing here.
I always had that one figure stuck halfway between a robot and a car. So were you Team Autobots or Decepticons? Okay, you're in timeout for a second. Just to let you know that there's a part 1 to this as well, so if you miss it, the link's gonna be in the description. We cover even more amazing toys in that one, like the Nintendo NES, the Evel Knievel Stun Cycle, and Cabbage Patch Kids. Right now, let's keep this memory train going, with a toy burned so hard into our memories and our corneas, it turned a dark room into an art masterpiece, one peg at a time. In 1967, Lite-Brite lit up toy stores and kids' imaginations. This brilliant little box turned tiny plastic pegs and a backlit screen into glowing works of art. It was simple, creative, and downright magical. The best part, you didn't need artistic talent. Just a little patience to poke pegs into place. Kids loved it, parents loved it, and over 3 million were sold by the 1980s. Sure, it wasn't so fun when you stepped on one of those pegs barefoot, but hey, art is pain, right? Lite-Brite lets kids create anything they could dream up, from simple shapes to their names and glowing letters. So how many glowing masterpieces did you create with Lite-Brite? Now for the craft that shrank expectations, and most likely our lifespans from all the chemicals we inhaled while we baked them. In 1973, Shrinky Dinks hit the toy market and brought a little magic to craft time.
Just say the magic word, Shrinky!
These thin plastic sheets let kids color, cut, and bake their designs into tiny masterpieces, like keychains, jewelry, or fridge magnets. It was part craft project, part science experiment, mixed with a touch of a burn hazard. Here's how it worked. You colored them, popped them in the oven, and they shrink to a fraction of their original size. It was mesmerizing, and awesome to think that your mom let you cook plastic in the oven on the same sheet she makes you cookies. At just $2.50 a kit, Shrinky Dinks were a bargain. Plus, they gave kids the joy of creating their own treasures, and a sprinkle of chemical smell to whatever you cook next. Shrinky Dinks were a lesson in patience, creativity, and oven safety.
Shrinky Dinks, I love to make them shrink.
Shrinky Dinks from Milton Bradley.
All right, now let's get cuddly with these floppy-eared friends. In 1984, Pound Puppies barked their way into toy stores and straight into our hearts.
Let's rescue them!
These floppy-eared plush pups came with adoption certificates, so every kid could feel like they were rescuing their new best friend. They were soft, adorable, and just the right size for cuddling, or sneaking into your backpack for show and tell. At $30, they weren't cheap, but over 2.5 million were adopted in their first year.
The cat Sparks!
That's a lot of waggy tails.
Now you're really one of the family.
Unlike real dogs, they didn't chew your shoes or have accidents on the carpet. The hardest part was convincing your parents you needed one in every color. So, who else had a Pound Puppy they never let out of their sight?
Pound Puppy, you're my one and only puppy love.
2 new puppies from the Pound Puppies collection, each sold separately from Tonga.
These next dudes weren't just heroes, they were a phenomenon. From pizza parties to sewer adventures and epic battles with Shredder. In 1988, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles dolls
Action
figures hit store shelves. And suddenly every kid was shouting, whether you were Leonardo, Michelangelo, or just here for the pizza, the TMNT squad had something for everyone.
The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are the top-selling action figures in the toy business.
Each figure cost about $3.99, and with their signature weapons, pizza accessories, and that lovable green color, they were an instant hit. By 1990, over 100 million figures had been sold worldwide. And let's not forget the villains, Shredder, Bebop, and Rocksteady. Sure, their plans always failed, but they look cool getting defeated by a bunch of sewer-dwelling teenagers. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle figures weren't just toys. They were heroes in a half shell. So which one was your favorite? And finally, the master of all action figures. With his mighty sword and his battles with Skeletor, this guy ruled toy chests everywhere. In 1982, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe stormed toy stores, bringing us action figures with muscles so big, they made Schwarzenegger look scrawny.
You son of a bitch.
He-Man fought Skeletor for control of Castle Grayskull and our imaginations. These figures were more than toys. They came with a built-in cartoon to fuel your adventures.
He-Man and the Masters of the Universe.
They cost just $4.99, but good luck stopping at one. You needed He-Man, Skeletor, Battle Cat, and the whole squad. Over 70 million sold in just 3 years. So that's a lot of kids shouting, and a lot of parents wishing for earplugs. He-Man was a symbol of strength, courage, and some of the best Saturday mornings ever. So who else fought for Grayskull in their living room?
By the power of Grayskull.
Well, there you have it. Whether you're huffing Shrinky Dink fumes, defeating Decepticons, or testing your memory skills. Which of these toys did you have in your collection? Were you Star Wars crazy like me, or a master of the He-Man universe? Or had one of those lazy pet rocks? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with your fellow nostalgic toy lovers. And also, if vintage toys are your thing, please check out my good friend Toy Ploy's channel. I'll leave a link in the description. He's a master toy restorer, and some of the things he does is just insane. And the cool thing is, being a voice actor, I've had the honor of being his voice guy for years. Welcome to Toy Ploy. Until next time, keep playing, keep dreaming, and keep coming back for great content, because now you're smarter.
Now you're smarter. Take a ride.